It was Microsoft's turn to showcase games for its Xbox Series X console this holiday season, and today they had an hour-long show where they showed off about 20 games. Most of it was cinematic trailers, but there was some gameplay footage in there. Now we're going to run through most of the announcements today, and for the full show you can click on the description below and there will be a link to the full show from Microsoft's YouTube channel. But for the short version, keep watching and let's run through the announcements today. So the show started off today with Halo Infinite, and it was pretty much where we left off, I think, the previous trailer, which was E3 2019. And that was where there was a guy and he found Master Chief in a spacecraft. So it takes off from that point, and now they're on the spaceship and they've crash landed onto another Halo ring, and it looks as though that it's not the same Halo ring as it was in Halo 5, because they had one of the directors from Halo, he said the world is many times bigger than the ring in Halo 5. So once they crash land, Master Chief is looking for, I believe, some cannons on the Halo ring. I believe he's probably wanting to destroy them. So then he's given freedom to go, and he opens a map and you can see like where the different missions are and where the battle artillery is that he needs to go and destroy. So it looks like it's going to be a bigger world, or at least it could be an open world, but Master Chief gets a bit of freedom about where he can go. And the other thing that they really showed off here in the 5 minutes of gameplay was a lot of the combat mechanics and the weaponry that I guess that is probably all new for Halo Infinite. But there were many fan favorites like the pistol and the assault rifle and plasma cannons. So they showed off a lot of that. They showed off the enemy encounters, but it looks like if you enjoyed the original Halo Combat Evolved, then I think you'll pretty much enjoy this one, because it looks like it invokes a lot of the inspiration from the original Halo. That said, if you didn't really like the recent Halos, you're probably not going to really like this one either, because the campaign looks kind of like very similar to past Halo campaigns. Now, a huge part of Halo, of course, is the multiplayer, and yeah, they didn't show off any of that today. So even if you don't like the campaign, the multiplayer is still a lot of fun as a shooter. Now, the next game that Microsoft showed off was State of Decay 3, and surprisingly it looked better than Halo Infinite, although that's probably because Halo Infinite's been in development longer, and we're not actually sure if State of Decay 3 is in-game footage or whether it's just a trailer that's been made specifically for the show. So basically in the short trailer, it showed a girl who was hunting, and as she got closer to the deer itself, the deer looked like it was infected by a virus. So it looks like there are zombie deers now, and that was really all there was in State of Decay 3. And we don't know when it's coming out, but it could be for launch, because Microsoft stated that there were a lot of console launch titles that were shown today. Next, Phil Spencer made an announcement that every game that they showed on the Xbox Game Showcase was going to be available for Xbox Game Pass subscription players to play on their service. Now, that's a really huge statement of intent, I think, because no other console actually has a service like this. Certainly not Nintendo or Sony. Sony has a PlayStation Now subscription where they put a variety of old games on their service for streaming. But this service from Microsoft, the Game Pass service, allows you to download all the games and play them on your Xbox for the cost of, I believe, $10 at the moment, although it could be $15 later on Game Pass. So I think the Game Pass news is really huge because they showed off a lot of games today, over 20 games that they showed off, and all of them can be played on Game Pass. Now, if you do the math, it probably works out to be more or less the same depending on your budget. You might have a budget if you buy on the PlayStation 5. Say you may only buy 3 or 4 AAA games a year, and maybe you wait for discounts and things. So who knows, maybe you end up spending the same amount of money, right, on the PlayStation 5 games as you do on, say, Microsoft Gamepass, where it's $10 a month for 12 months, so it's about $120 a year. But I think the difference is that on Microsoft's service, you get a whole lot of other games. So you'll get 100 games in the library already, and there'll be lots of other games that come onto the service as well. So I think that's the difference between Game Pass and the Sony, I guess, their system, where you pay $60 for the game, or you can wait until they get a bit cheaper and then buy them that way, or you could just pay $10 a month on the Game Pass service. And I think honestly, the ball is now in Sony's court, really, to offer a similar type of service, because for the value that you get, for the money that you put up, Microsoft's service has a lot more value in it for gamers. Now, the next game they showed off was Forza Motorsport, and we got a short trailer of it. It basically showed off some of the cars, and I guess the people working on the cars, with all the cool reflections that they normally show for racing games. And that was intercut with some of the racing on the track, although it's not clear how good the graphics will be, because as we all know, with racing game replays, the replays always end up looking way better than the actual game racing footage. And also Phil Spencer mentioned that it was very early in development, so I don't believe we're going to see this early on next year. At best, that might be summer, but I very much doubt it. It will probably be for holiday season 2021. Microsoft also showed off their next game from Rare, and it was called Everwilds, and there's not a whole lot there. It was mostly a story trailer. Now, the art style looks really unique, and it's a more narrative driven type of game. So this is nothing like Sea of Thieves. And it's interesting that Microsoft seems to be doing a lot of narrative-driven games, and I think that's probably a lot to do with the fact that they have Game Pass now, and they're looking at sort of simulating a sort of Netflix-type experience where you watch a lot of different things on the Game Pass subscription. So here, this would be something that you would play once, and then you might play more Halo or Forza or Gears of War, but this is definitely something that complements those big tier AAA games. And aside from that, I think the art style looks really interesting and very unique, but it's easier for you to just go and check out the trailer for this and see what you think. If you like Life is Strange, then you'll probably like Dontnod's next game, which is called Tell Me Why, and it looks like it's another type of narrative driven game, very much like Life is Strange, and it's set in some sort of I guess out in the wilds between a brother and sister in a house, and it's got something to do with their family and their mother and the secrets that they uncover in their family. So very much in the vein of Life is Strange. Ori and the Will of the Wisps is already on Xbox, but the developer today on the Xbox Game Showcase made an announcement that they're going to do an Xbox Series X version that's going to be optimized for the system. So now the game will run at 120 frames per second over the 60 frames per second on the Xbox One. And they were also going to update the music with better music samples. So this is the version to play if you haven't already played it. And there's going to be smart delivery for this game, and I believe that there's going to be smart delivery for almost all of the games that they showed on Xbox Game Showcase today. And what that means is that if you already have the original Xbox One version, you'll get the update free of charge. Now, Obsidian was next, and they showed off a story DLC for the Outer Worlds, and the first pack is called Perils on Gorgon, and it had this very neon light casino style look to it, and it looked like it was pretty much all done. They showed quite a bit of gameplay footage from it, so that's looking like it's going to be ready pretty soon. The next game they showed off was a game based off a very old movie called Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Now, if you remember that was from about 30 years ago, where there was a inventor dad and he shrunk his kids, and the kids had to make their way all the way from the back of the yard into the house. So it's basically that movie turned into a game, and now it's a survival game where it's you and a bunch of friends, and you've all been shrunk, and you basically have to make your way from the back of the yard, deal with all of the nasties in the backyard like spiders and ants and things like that. And the game will be out very shortly, actually, July sometime, and it will be out on Steam as well as Xbox. It's in early access, so they haven't finished the game yet, but they want more feedback on that game. And it's looking like it's going to be a survival co-op game. It's got that Fortnite type of aesthetic as well. This one is for a teenager style audience. That's going to be very popular with that demographic. And finally, they showed off a trailer for Avowed, which is a new game that is looking like a Skyrim type of game, but it's going to be set in the Pillars of Eternity world. They didn't really show off a whole lot in their teaser trailer today. They did say that it was built for next generation, so I don't believe this one will be backwards compatible with Xbox One, and I believe that this really will be an Xbox Series X next gen type of experience. So they showed off a lot of other games as well. We don't want to make the video too long, so I'll just quickly run through the list of games that they showed. And they showed off As Dusk Falls, which is a very narrative driven game. There was Hellblade 2 from Ninja Theory. They didn't show off a whole lot of footage from that. We did get to see very little snippets of it. The one thing that they did say was that it was running on the Unreal Engine 5. So I think that's going to look really good. There was Psychonauts 2 from Double Fine. There was Destiny 2, Stalker 2, Warhammer 40,000 Darktide, Tetris Effect multiplayer. There was The Medium. Now The Medium was actually a really interesting game that they showed off, and that kind of showed off the capabilities of the next gen SSD that suited the game. So as you all know, The Medium is a horror style game, and they could instantly switch between two worlds, where one was a much darker world than the other, and I thought that really fitted the horror genre very well. And I don't think you could do that with previous gen consoles. You really need the faster SSDs to load it up in the background and then instantly switch between the two. What else? They also showed Phantasy Star Online 2, which was called New Genesis. Now, I didn't even know there were people still playing Phantasy Star Online, but there you go. They showed off CrossfireX, which is Remedy's newest game. Remedy make Quantum Break and Control. But CrossfireX looked like it was very much a Call of Duty type of game. So now I guess Microsoft has their first party Call of Duty. And the last thing they showed was Fable. Now, there wasn't a whole lot of information about this, but they did show that it was made by Playground Games. Playground Games, they make Forza Horizon 4. So they haven't made an RPG game yet, but they're very good at making open worlds. And I think that's going to have a big impact on the way Fable is done. And now Forza Horizon 4 and Playground Games, pretty high profile developer, and they've shown in the past that they make quality games. So I think there's going to be high hopes for this one to be really good. Now that covers it for the Xbox Game Showcase. There are a couple other pre-show announcements. One which was Dragon Quest XIs. Now I'm not sure why they didn't include it in the show. Maybe it's because they didn't have a trailer or anything like that for it. But they said it's coming to Xbox Gamepass at the end of the year. Now this, I'll do a separate video, but they said that this was going to be the Nintendo Switch version, and they weren't going to upgrade it. So yeah, that doesn't sound too great, but at least you're getting Dragon Quest on the Xbox. So overall, I thought Microsoft had a pretty good show. Now, if you ask me to compare between the two previous shows from Sony and Microsoft, I'd probably say that Sony, I would still probably go and get a PS5, but only because I really like Gran Turismo 7. And we know that Forza Motorsport isn't coming until 2021. But even then, with Forza Motorsport, I could probably get it on PC anyway. But that kind of doesn't explain the fact that PS5 has just been getting so much more attention than Microsoft and the Xbox Series X lately. So that one is pretty hard to explain. I guess there's just more fans of PlayStation 5 out there that seem to really want a PlayStation 5. But I think overall, I think Microsoft had a pretty good showing today. So that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the breakdown of the Xbox Game Showcase today. So if you like this video, make sure to click on the like button and make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.